The sheriff is called in Yankton County.
For those of you who have been watching the stream all day, you know that there have been a lot of really incredible speakers and attendees of Mike Lindell's election summit here in Missouri. And I think one of the most interesting and certainly one of the most high-profile and renowned speakers. Did you speak or no? He didn't speak yet, but he's just attending because he actually cares about election integrity. Is Lou Dobbs. And Lou is somebody who I grew up watching on TV, on Fox News, before they decided that they didn't want to tell the truth about the elections. And he's somebody that I greatly admire, somebody who has always been a strong ally and friend to President Donald Trump. And so it's great to have you today.
Great to be with you, Laura. Thank you so much. I'm a big fan.
Thank you. So what made you want to come to Mike Lindell's election summit?
Because Mike, first of all, said we've got to save the country.
I guess it's an improvement. And then we did ban ranked choice voting. We didn't have it, but we banned it. And then during the legislative session, we really did expose the rhinos. So we had a lot of people, again, that we trained to go and testify in bills. So we had, in 2022, we had 5 election-related bills. We banned NGO fundings of elections in South Dakota that year. That's the only election bill that passed. And in 2023,
and I know that you were a really big critic of the way that the election in 2020 was handled, and you were very outspoken. You exemplified a lot of courage. Not a lot of people in the mainstream media wanted to, call it like it was, and you did, and you paid a big price ultimately by, no longer with Fox News. So how did that go down? Because I think a lot of people are starting to realize now that Fox, which had branded itself as, what did they say, fair and balanced news. It's not exactly so fair and balanced. We're not willing to allow people who believe
you guys are going to drive all the way over there. What difference is that going to make?
What's that been like for you?
Listen to you anyway. My challenge is, what difference is it going to make if you don't do anything?
CNN.
Right? We have got to be there. Show up, because it does make a difference. And even if you can't see it that day, there's ripples going out beyond you that you might never see. But God is taking what you're doing and spreading it everywhere.
All right. Passport record lawsuit was filed.
Yes, so we had a passport record lawsuit. We had kind of a snafu with procedural issues. And our first one was dismissed. But South Dakota is one of those red states, totally ESNS machines that have not gotten a single passport record in the state. And so it's, again, just a public record dispute. And so we've got that going. And the opposition has until September 15th, I believe, to respond. And then it should be in court soon.
Fantastic. Yeah, I love this. The ESNS reps changed their answers to the evidence that you all presented.
So the state reps and the ESNS executives are changing their answers to questions after we have said, you know what, that's not true.
And that's what I got canceled for. You're not allowed to talk about Islam, right?
What we're doing, but they're changing their answers because we are telling the truth and pointing out their lies, and so they have to admit that they're lying.
I love it. This is what South Dakota breeds. This is awesome. Thank you so much, South Dakota. And I think you will win on the facts and evidence.
And the truth, of course, is that the election was stolen, and we see the evidence.
They've had multiple campaign success, and also there's a lot of.
I think what's really interesting is dynamic that exists at Fox, because
moving right along
to
the great state of Tennessee, let's bring out our representative actually, because there is a lot to talk about.
There needs to come a point in time where they take responsibility for their own roles. They've lost a lot of support. I mean, especially now with
we're looking at the scorecard here. You guys were up to 31. We dropped down just a little bit in 28. There's some fluctuation going on here. What's happening in Tennessee? There seems to be a little bit of back and forth.
Not just fair balance, but at least
I know it's
presenting the conservative viewpoint.
We've had that COVID decline, so but we really had citizens come together, and we had a lot of things going on. Trying to make our laws so much worse.
And they
so
be
we would really probably be down at like 12
and the bias
if we didn't have all these citizens. So even though it looks like, it's not so great, it was a big effort to get us where we are.
Yeah, well, and you're going back up. You guys are coming back up, and I like what you said. You guys, you were in the way. You stayed in the way so that
you couldn't do more harm.
We did. There was really a lot of
corporations.
So, and even though, like I said, the numbers
Part
might
of this
be
country
complete,
that
but
isn't
Absolutely.
run by Marxist Dems.
What does this mean, though, for journalism? Because, I went to school, I have a degree in broadcast journalism, I was valedictorian, and, for me, it's hard because if you get canceled and you're a journalist in this day and age, and you see that everything is on social media now, it's kind of hard to be a journalist and actually have an impact or have a career when you're completely blackballed in the modern public digital square. So what is your advice to people who actually want to spread the truth, who want to be in journalism, but are facing a career of being blackballed and blacklisted in the corporate media?
I wish I had a good answer for that question, because
they kind of get to see, wow, there's machines.
wealthy interests, where in any other country they'd be called oligarchs. We don't call them oligarchs. We lionize them. We, basically bow down to them. And we've lost sort of a sense of, the left likes to talk about equity, but what equity is there in this society in which people don't respect men and women who work for a living, who are not trying to contribute to the country, to feed families and raise children. The point being that if you do not understand that there is immense power that can like that in what you're doing, you have to be as independent as possible and not be dependent on the corporate structure and not be dependent on the forces that you cover. Because if you do, I always thought of myself very simply. You pay me a salary. You have every company I've worked for. There have only been fortunately a few. You have the right to do what you want, but I am not about to compromise my principles. I'm not about to back down.
So are you happier being independent now? Because I know you have your own podcast, right?
I do, and I am happier, and I have to say that my wife and I have just sort of discovered how good it feels. We're very fortunate people because we've also worked over the course of our lives, and we have put together, life savings. So we have advantages that young journalists don't. They're dependent on, they haven't made their way yet. So I've always had the luxury of being, I'm a poor boy who didn't go into journalism because of money. I went into it because I wanted to report. I really, and I loved it.
You loved it. It's fun.
And it's fun.
It is.
And I remember people saying, it's fun? Well, you don't sound like a serious journalist. Well, I'm sorry, but it's fun.
I love breaking stories. I get such an adrenaline rush when I break a really big story.
Right. And by the way, I'm dumb enough that I enjoyed bucking hay on the farm as a youngster, and I've enjoyed really every aspect of life, which for various reasons.
What do you think? I mean, you're obviously very concerned about our elections. We talked about this in our interview as well earlier. What do you think is the biggest threat going forward as we head into the 2024 election? What are you concerned about? Because I know that you're a supporter of President Trump, just like I am, and he's been indicted, and I think we all need to stand by him and support him despite all of these witch hunts. But what is your greatest concern for 2024?
You ask it as personally. So personally, my greatest concern is that I can't think of a way to extricate Donald Trump from this extraordinary political persecution that he's endured for 8 years. I can't come up with that just terrific answer that is a way forward. The Republican Party, I want to actually surround him, support him, and to make sure he's elected by acclamation, because no one ever deserved the support of the American people more than this man.
And we know the Republican Party isn't going to do that because they're part of the problem.
They are a huge part of the problem. And I think that we as citizens have to first understand we've got to do everything we can for this man, stand for him, and fight back against the immense powerful forces that are arrayed against him, and make certain that our voices are heard, and understand too that we've got to be just like these folks, engaged at the local level. We've got to be engaged politically, and we've got to understand, yeah, we may get our butts kicked, but it's a fight worth having, and even if we don't win, we've done the right thing, and that's got to be enough in this critical moment in our history.
Yeah, we have to fight. We definitely have to fight, and I think you're right. People are starting to wake up, and people in the past thought of Fox News, and I talk about Fox News because I think it's important for people to understand that we have fake news at CNN, we have fake news at MSNBC, we have left-wing media, but we also have the same problem on the right. And I think a lot of people are starting to realize, wow, these news networks that we've been watching for years, especially what they thought was conservative media, really isn't so conservative after all. And there truly is an anti-Trump bias at Fox News, I would say.
Well,
I don't know what your experience was.
Well, my experience is I wasn't permitted to report what I found to be the truth, the facts as I knew them, and I'm very comfortable with that.
Yeah.
What I'm not comfortable with is the way in which, of course, the management decided to inform me when I was on vacation. The show was canceled. I thought that was
on vacation. That's how they did it.
Yeah, well, I was off on. My wife and I were off on a Friday, and that's when they decided to cancel the show.
Did they give you a phone call or did they email you?
No, not even. No. But
how'd it go down? If you don't mind sharing.
Well, we found out. As a matter of fact, I can't remember exactly who. It may have been my producer telling me that the show had been canceled, but. The fact that I personally thought the management was more direct than they were, I was sort of just annoyed by that. I was disappointed in my own judgment of the environment I was working in.
How many years were you with Fox?
I was from 2011 to 2020.
It's a long time. They could have given you the courtesy of a...
Well, this wasn't about courtesy. This was about politics, and that's tough stuff. But my complaints are chiefly with myself for not comprehending the situation as I should have, and my other complaints are that some people were not who I thought they were, and that's on me, not them. That's on me. So the other part of it is I'm a guy who's I've always been pretty resilient. I'm not exactly weak-kneed, and I'm still carrying on the battle in the public square and the arena. So.
Well, you've kept your integrity and your principles. You didn't sell out just to take a paycheck, and I think that's admirable. And I do believe that history is going to speak kindly of people like you, and not so well about others who decided to sell out when our country needed people like us to stand up and fight when it mattered most. So I think that more people should be courageous like you and speak out. And President Trump loves you. I know he's always speaking very highly of you, and so
it's the regard is mutual. I'll put it
that must mean something. Well, where can people follow you? Because now you have your new show, and want to make sure that people can watch your show.
The Great America Show. It's on every major platform. I think it was on every platform. And the podcast is, as the name implies, sort of shows my prejudice and bias.
So they can get it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then where can they follow you on social media?
On social media, at Lou Dobbs, at Lou Dobbs Tonight on Instagram, and it's and LouDobbs.com.
Great. Yeah, and we're going to hopefully try to get you out to the Villages for a big Villagers for Trump rally. And we have a lot of fans there. It's where I ran for Congress, and we'd love to host you and have you out there. So thank you so much. It was great. It was great seeing you and interviewing you. And
thank you, Laura.
Keep up the fight. I really admire you.
Well, and I admire you.
Thank you.
All you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Great. Well, as you can see, He's a fighter. So be sure that you're liking the stream, retweeting it, sharing it, subscribe if you're watching on YouTube or Rumble. Be sure that you share it on Truth. Follow me on Twitter, Getter, Telegram, and also please be sure that you visit goldco.com/Laura Loomer. We really want to make sure that we support our sponsors, since our sponsors are supporting me and the Patriots who are tuning into this live stream. So be sure that you go to goldco.com/Laura Loomer. We are living in extremely volatile financial times right now. Inflation is through the roof and everybody's feeling it. Every time I go to the grocery store, I spend over $250, and I'm just a single woman with 2 dogs. But things are getting hard out there, and you want to make sure that you protect your family by backing up your assets and your wealth with gold and silver. So go to goldco.com/Laura Loomer, and also be sure that you show some appreciation to Mike Lindell. You know, he's facing nearly $8 billion in judgments against him. Potentially, he's going to be deposed all next week because he's taken a stand. He's put millions of dollars of his own money into fighting against election fraud. And so one way that you can support Mike Lindell is by going to mypillow.com. Check out his slippers. I have the dog beds. My dogs love the dog blankets and the dog beds from MyPillow. I personally love my MyPillow mattress topper. I have the sheets. I have everything because, you know, Mike Lindell is such a nice guy. He sent me the dog beds. He sent me the blankets. He sent me everything. So mypillow.com, and when you select your products, be sure you use code Loomer, my last name Loomer, for savings up to 66%.